Hello, this is Angelique, and you are listening to We're Booked Up, a segment of the Gaston Speaks podcast wherein Kendall, Andrew, and I discuss books. This is our Season 4 premiere. Welcome back, everyone, and welcome to any new listeners who probably got lost looking for a different podcast. Stick around.
Welcome.
For this episode, we will be discussing Upside Down by Danielle Steele, and there will be spoilers. So maybe come back after you've read it if you want to avoid those. First, as is usual, I'll ask what y'all have been reading or watching over our hiatus.
That is a good question. I read this. That was it. What did I read for book club? Oh, Tom Lake, Ann Patchett, terrible.
Really?
And so I have my book club group, which is mostly older women, and then Andrew. And then Maddie has her book club group, which is like people in their 20s and 30s, and both clubs hated it.
Ooh.
For different reasons, I think. Like, I'm sure there were different reasons, but none of us liked it. And that was such a big hit. It was the one that was like viral everywhere, you know. It was awful. It was terrible, people. I didn't read that much with summer reading going on. I did finish recently. I rewatched Ted Lasso, and it is still good. It is still great. And we have it on DVD here at the library now. So if you never got a chance to see it because you didn't want to get Apple TV, put it on hold.
I
It's worth
currently have it checked out.
Okay, once Angelique is done with it,
Yeah.
then it really is worth the rewatch.
I believe so.
Yes. But you have to watch it to find out that reference. But no, between traveling and I did see some good. I saw a movie called Thelma with June Squibb. It's about a older lady who gets scammed into sending money because her grandson's in trouble. One of those scams, so she decides to fight back and go find the scammer and get her money back. Yeah, I saw that in Santa Monica. That was really fun. And then I also got to see for the first time ever. It's called Fail Safe. It's a Sidney Lumet film with Henry Fonda and Walter Matthau and a very young Larry Hagman. That is the most depressing movie I've ever seen. Emily and I kept thinking, we're like, there's going to be a big twist and it's not going to end the way we think. It ends the way exactly you think. But it was really well done because it was Sidney Lumet. So that was fun.
All right, Kendall.
So I didn't really read or watch anything because we moved, and that was hellacious.
Yeah.
But I did listen to James Patterson on a podcast episode of Armchair Expert.
Did he mention us?
There's these hooligans out in North Carolina that trash my books.
As a matter of fact, he did. He's sending the cease and desist. But no.
Which is why we're reading Danielle Steele instead. No, I'm kidding.
He was lovely, guys.
Yeah.
He's self-aware. Listening to him discuss his writing process, he was like, yeah, the first book I laid out the outline, and then I was like, I don't need to do anything else. Here's the book. And I was like, yes. No wonder his chapters are short because it's an outline for a book. But I don't know. And then over the summer, I ran into Renee, the Union Road supervisor, and she was like, James Patterson's so supportive of libraries and reading, and he really is just. And I'm like, man. And after this, I'm definitely like, James, I'm sorry. We miss
to be
you.
fair, we don't make fun of his philanthropy. We make fun of his writing.
And we also have picked some of the more offbeat. We didn't read an Alex Cross.
Yeah, he didn't
book.
read any of his classics.
I don't think he would care that we're punching up.
Of course
because
not.
I don't either.
Stephen King called him a bad writer, and so I feel like he's going to go for Stephen King before he's going to come for us.
Yeah.
Or because it's Stephen King, he can't go for him, so then he comes after us.
His response was basically but Stephen's a great writer. I love his books. Why aren't you just a lovely human? Anyway,
That's
so
funny.
I listened to James Patterson on the
That's cool.
podcast, and he was delightful.
Very nice.
Well,
That's what I did, and I moved a lot.
But we're happy, right? New home.
New home, things
Lots
are
of
good.
space.
Yep, it's
Kids are happy.
filled with boxes right now.
That's
but
okay.
It's okay. We're slowly getting there. We're
Do
unpacking.
you have an
more.
attic? I didn't even ask. Do you have a nice
Do
attic
have
space?
an-
Okay,
actually,
that's
it's really nice. They even put down flooring, and there's an attic fan up there to help.
so it's not
when it
so
gets
hot
too
like in the
hot.
summer.
Yeah,
Oh, that's lovely.
I know we're the trashy people on the block because this house is much nicer than we are used to.
No, it is not. Hush.
No, the house is nicer. We are still trashy.
Okay. Gosh. Anyway, what did you read?
I have a funny story later
Okay.
that I'll tell you guys
Okay.
about my children escaping the house and running in the streets and the neighbors
geez,
getting
okay.
Yeah, true story.
Okay, what I read early in the summer. I read World War Z by Max
I've
Brooks.
never
I
read
that book. It's okay. Go ahead.
I like the concept,
Yeah.
and some of the little, I guess, vignettes of it, the little stories within it are pretty good. But some of it I didn't like. But overall, I liked it.
Yeah.
I just love that it's Mel Brooks' son. I did not know that. And when I found that out, I'm like, I don't even care if your books are bad. your Mel Brooks son. So you get a check in my book.
It's a very different style because
Mm.
you think, okay, it's like one of the first big zombie books, and so you think it's going to be like The Walking Dead, but it's not. It's more clinical because it's
Yeah.
like after the fact, and it's almost like little military reports,
Yeah.
Hmm.
and so it's not as
It's
it's not.
epistolary.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh,
It's
yeah,
not. It's not
okay.
going to suck you in
Gotcha.
like a zombie.
To
in
be fair,
Brains.
I could not
It's-
get through the first season of The Walking Dead, so I gave
Really?
up. I hated that show.
Even Jan liked The Walking Dead. Shout out to an old.
Library employee, we miss
Thank you. Very much so. Hope
No,
you're
I
enjoying
just,
retirement.
I'm not you know, as you guys know, I'm not a horror fan in general. And so I just didn't ever click with it very well. So,
Yeah, I get it. But okay, so I will say the first few seasons excellent, and then it jumped the shark in a very awful
Eh.
way.
but then it went on. It's one of those that went on for.
It's like still going through
No,
Fear the Walking Dead.
Yeah, and then
stuff
there's
like
a
that.
new one. There's like, yeah, it's become Game of Thrones. It's its own thing where it just keeps multiplying.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
so how would you rate World War Z?
3.5 probably.
That's
Well,
pretty good for you.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's where I
yeah.
probably put it for me too.
I'm also in the middle of reading like a book called 0 Stars, Do Not Recommend, and it's about this guy and his girlfriend who go onto like a private resort in the middle of the Bahamas. It's like just this one island with the resort on it, and then the sun goes out, and he has to figure out how to survive within this like resort where like this caste is developing between like the super rich, the middle class, and the poorer people.
Do you
Yeah.
mean the sun as in like
The sun.
the
The one in
ball
the
of
sky.
gaseous
It did not
fun?
come out tomorrow, Amy.
Okay.
Yeah, it just goes out.
Well, I didn't know if like the SON, like the like the. Anyway,
But yeah, it's pretty.
Can you
interesting
live
so far.
without the? It's fiction. Okay, it's fiction.
It's
It's
getting very cold. I'm in the
speculative.
middle of it, and it's
Okay,
getting very
okay.
cold.
I'm
So
sure.
there's that.
I'll get
And
frostbite.
so I've watched Deadpool and Wolverine over the summer.
Oh, don't tell me anything.
Okay, I won't.
Did you like it?
Yeah, it was a Deadpool movie.
Okay, gotcha.
Did
So,
you like the
a
other
lot of-
Deadpool movies?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Such
Such a rousing.
just like, oh,
like
I'm just so burnt out on like
Enthusiastic.
Marvel movies in
I am
general.
too. Yeah.
So it was a Deadpool movie.
Gotcha. I get you.
A lot of surprises, a lot of Easter eggs, things like that.
That's fun.
a lot of exciting things happen.
Uh,
I also watched Twisters.
oh, was
the
it
new-
Also,
good?
don't tell me
Okay,
anything.
I won't.
I love Glenn Powell and I love
He was good.
Anthony Ramirez,
Yeah.
and so it's a really good cast. It's on my like to watch. I'm not the big I know I'm a '90s child. I did not love Twister back in the '90s.
That makes one of us. I loved
I loved it
Twister.
too.
I'm so excited.
But apparently this one is just a hoot good time. Like
It's
it's
a good
just
time, yeah.
really well made and entertaining. I was like, well, I can get into anything if it's worth, if it keeps my attention.
I
So,
do want to spoil it. Do they have the moment with the cow and another cow?
is there a
No,
cat
but it's
moment?
the same cow.
I don't remember.
think
I don't
the cow
think so.
died.
Oh, dang. Did you see the TikTok in the movie Twisters of the person in a cow costume running from one side of the theater to the other? And then someone goes, "There's a cow." And then the person goes back and they're like, "There's another cow." I think
Okay.
it was the same cow.
I think I saw that.
I do remember I went to like Universal Studios and they have like the Twister experience,
Uh-huh.
but it felt so fake with like the fake cow at "Rrrr, Pat," and I don't think anyone was like scared. I think we were all laughing because it's a bunch of middle schoolers who were like, "Oh, there's a cow flyer." Yeah, no offense to Universal Studios. I hope you have upped the ante with this new sequel at your attraction
Maybe
because
there
it
will
was
be
not
2 cows.
2 cows. So I'm glad you enjoyed it.
I did. I saw it in theaters. It was
That's good.
And I've watched the first 5 episodes of Ted Lasso.
Oh, and did you ever watch Ted Lasso before?
No.
Oh,
I
do you
don't have
like
Apple
it?
TV. Yeah.
Oh, what do you think?
I like it so far.
Good.
Yeah.
We'll discuss later. And our next, we'll discuss what you think of it now that, and then so we'll all have seen it and we'll be good to
Because
go.
it's not like a Marvel movie.
No.
Hopefully you
No.
won't be burnt out on it.
No.
I liked it because I do feel like it's a nice antidote to pretty much everything else out there.
Yeah.
It's just if you feel so good.
Yeah, and you need that sometimes.
All right. Are we ready to continue?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
I mean, if you don't want to spend time with this kid, just kidding, I'm messing.
All right. I will read the synopsis and then we will rate it as per usual. Oscar-winning actress Ardith Law is a Hollywood icon. Radiant at 62, she's the epitome of glamour and a highly respected artist. But her success has come at a price. She has a strained relationship with her daughter, Morgan, who at 38 still blames Ardith for putting her career before being a mother. Morgan is a successful plastic surgeon in New York City, and the distance from Ardith's Bel Air mansion is not lost on either of them. Ardith became a single mother when Morgan was 7, after her unfaithful husband died in a helicopter accident. In recent years, she has found amiable companionship with fellow actor Bill West. Okay. But Ardith's comfortable world is turned upside down when she hires a temporary personal assistant, Josh Gray. While Bill is away filming in London, Josh's rough-around-the-edges persona is the opposite of what Ardith is used to, but an unexpected tragedy brings them closer, stirring up conflicting feelings in her for this younger man. In New York, Morgan is swept off her feet by a world-renowned TV anchorman, Ben Ryan. Though more than 2 decades her senior, Ben is handsome, charismatic, and just as smitten as Morgan. But when a blackmail scheme puts his career and their relationship on the line, Morgan doesn't know where to turn. Perhaps to her mother. As each woman navigates an unconventional romance, they cautiously approach each other on new terms and attempt to put aside their past for a new future. In Upside Down, Danielle Steele tells an unforgettable story of bold choices, second chances, and the hope of reconciliation. Okay.
That's the biggest. Never mind. Nope. We're going to go through the process, right?
This is what Danielle Steele wanted the book to be.
Yeah.
I don't know that.
She accomplished that?
No.
This book seemed like it was going to be more about the
mother-daughter,
mother-daughter relationship. Yeah. It just stayed distant the whole time.
Yeah.
Like, their solution was accepting that they were going to stay apart.
Yeah. It was. Yeah.
So I don't know how accurate, I guess.
She should have whoever writes that write the book.
I know, right?
This is a theme, guys.
Yeah, this is a theme.
All right, ratings.
Andrew, do it. Go.
Half a star, 1 star. I mean, it's just bad.
Same.
Same.
I'm
So
so angry with this book. I
threw it
don't-
across the room today. She's like, oh my God, why?
I think I actually hate this book.
There was a part towards the end where I just started laughing and I
Same,
could not stop.
Same. Was it with the plane?
Yes! I was like, there's no way that this is, because even the way it was set up, it's a small plane and that can be dangerous. I'm like, oh, really? Really?
It'll just coast down there. It'll be fine. Like, like her previous husband died that way. It's just preposterous. Like,
But when he walked in, it felt like they were seeing a ghost. It's like, he didn't die. He wasn't even close to dying. Like, it was.
so like when Ben got shot, I was like, good.
Oh, God.
And then the airplane exploded, and I was like, ha! I was wondering why we're hanging on for another 10 pages. I was like, why is this story not over yet? Why are we still reading? A plane had to explode. Oh, God.
I was laughing.
Ooh. So we really enjoyed this novel. It was so bad, y'all. It was so bad.
I think I miss Colleen Hoover.
I know. Actually,
Come back, Colleen.
She has a little bit more coherency in her writing.
I'm about to say the problem with Colleen Hoover wasn't the quality of like her words and like sentence structures and stuff. It was that the characters were horrible.
They're
Yeah.
problematic characters, which apparently she's got a little bit of a track record with.
Yeah.
Now. But the actual book itself was in her, like,
Not the worst written.
there were plot points.
Yeah.
There wasn't no
The
plot
character-
to this book.
She didn't end sentences with prepositions. Danielle Steele ended every sentence with like it too. It drove me insane.
The repetitiveness.
Yes.
He was
She's
a
just
powerful man.
Repeated.
He's powerful. That's how we know that.
I marked a page of what, like an example of how repetitive.
Oh, good.
Thank
Okay.
you,
Okay.
'cause
Good.
Yes.
it
Although it's
was.
pretty much every page.
Yeah.
Did you know that Josh wasn't getting paid? And that he was there, and that even though he had Metallica t-shirt and boots, like, he was actually a respectable guy, and their age difference didn't really matter that much, and
And Ardith was beautiful and amazing, even though she was old.
and she had no work done.
She was in her 60s. We act like this woman was like the way they talked about her, like she was like this was
She was
Harold and
decrepit.
Maude or something. Like God bless. Like what the heck?
Like, she's not the crypt keeper.
Dude, okay. The way he described his grandmother, do you remember that? Like my grandmother looks like something horrible. I can't even remember what it was
I
now.
marked that because then, like, he was
That
like,
was-
but then you don't look anything like my grandmother. I should hope not, sir.
Grandmother must be like 80.
apparently his grandmother was dead, and they, rose her back up. That's how
Jeez.
horrible she looked.
And do
Who
you
talks about their
know-
grandmama that way?
I don't know, but did you know that not Meredith, what was her name? Morgan?
I didn't know their names.
Morgan did not enjoy her childhood, and Ardith knew that, but Ardith has forgiven her for that and was waiting for her to get over it.
Did you know she was a successful plastic surgeon, and her work was important to her? She
Yeah.
did not have time.
She did not want a husband or children.
Ben was a powerful man. Did you know he's a powerful, important man?
You know, he
You know
used to
why?
be
Because he's so powerful.
He used to be a womanizer, but he's reformed
He's
now.
reformed, even though he had a relationship with like a 22-year-old intern because he just couldn't help himself.
Like 2 days before he met Morgan. He's just over those young girls now. Oh my gosh.
It was so bad, y'all. It was so bad. There was nothing. Okay, let's go into the questions.
Okay.
I'm not gonna
First-
because we're just gonna not get to it if we don't.
Okay.
We'll just make fun of it the whole time.
Yeah. What did you think of Ardith and Morgan? Who was your favorite character? Who was your least favorite?
Between the two of them, you're making us
No,
choose?
out of all of them.
Oh.
Like
Oh.
Ardith and Morgan, the main characters. What do you think of them?
I
But
actually
out of all
preferred
the
Ardith
characters-
to Morgan,
too.
by the way.
Do you want to know why? Because the author wanted us to like Ardith
Yeah.
more.
Yeah.
Because Ardith actually, she never did anything wrong.
No.
No.
She
No.
even was saying all the right things. All of the nasty things were inside her brain or in her past.
Right.
And she
right.
wanted to make it seem like she was so much more involved and moved on. It's like, okay, we get it. It's Daniel Steele, you're Ardith. Okay, how's your relationship with your kids?
Apparently, she's dating them. Sorry, or they're friends.
Sorry, that was a low blow, Danielle.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, if that was slander, I was just kidding.
Yeah. But anyway, I preferred because Morgan was just so hateful.
She really was.
Like I understood, and there's a lot of like reasons why I would be on Morgan's side in a lot of the discussions and arguments or whatever. And also she was just such a wretched woman.
She was.
But the only problem that she had with her mother was that because she was successful, she wasn't there enough. That's the only thing we hear negative about Ardith from Morgan. Not that she was verbally abusive, that she didn't love her, that she didn't try to have a relationship with her. When she was a child, she had to work because the father was gone, and she had to continue to work to support herself and her child. And in her work, it meant that sometimes she wasn't there. That's the only problem you have with your mother, and you have held it. Grow up.
Yeah.
Especially when you turn out to be the exact same person.
Yeah. And then date the exact same person.
Right.
Yes, she dates her
All
mother.
of them are workaholics.
Nothing is lost on me. like come on. We get it. Ugh. She was horrible. Morgan was horrible. But my favorite character was Amanda.
Yeah, she was good.
Ben Ryan's daughter.
Oh, I did like Amanda, yeah.
She was the only one that seemed to have some sense, despite the fact that apparently she was socialist.
And she had paint on her clothes.
And did you know that Ben Ryan did not agree with her politics?
But that's okay. Because they're family.
So, and then the other thing that I liked about the book kind of revolves around her, like Amanda too. But then we'll save that for.
Yeah, you're right. That was the one, like, redemptive. There just wasn't anything, whatever.
I can't even say I like Benicia because she didn't do anything,
I know.
and she also supported the idea that a guy in motorcycle boots
I know.
was going to
Rob the house,
the
yeah.
house, and they called the police.
He rang the doorbell.
Whoa! They could have just not answered the door.
Right.
Said they call the police.
Okay, my favorite character was the dog.
Oscar! Yeah, I did like the dog.
Okay,
Because the
Oscar
dog
was
had good sense about people.
Yeah.
He didn't like any of the characters.
So this is what I wrote. If I had to choose a favorite, I would choose the dog. I hated Ardith the least, hated Ben the most.
Yes.
Morgan made me angry, and Josh was just there.
That is the most accurate
Yep.
description of
Mhm.
everything. Yeah.
I must say, Josh wasn't. He actually was not that offensive
yeah.
or anything. He actually, like, their storyline of how they got together was a little more believable than
Mhm.
Morgan and Ben. It was like they got to know each other, and then this horrible thing happened, and tragedy brought them together. It still was a little icky and all that kind of stuff, but it wasn't as offensive as, you know.
So that goes into our next question.
sorry.
What did you think of the romantic plots and how they played out?
Keep going, Andrew.
Yeah.
Compared to Morgan and Ben, where
Yeah.
it was just like, just gross.
So the
It was
biggest
just gross.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, specifically, Ardith and Josh, the issue I had was, one, it was incredibly fast.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Like, this all happened within 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Like, they are literally... I read this part out loud to Marcus because it made me laugh. They buried Bill.
Mhm.
Oh, Bill was fine.
Bill was cool. Yeah, I like Bill.
He was... I wouldn't say he was cool, but he was fine. He was whatever. They buried him sorry.
He didn't do anything wrong. Like, he was just there.
He was just old-fashioned,
Yeah.
Yeah.
but he was just there as
He
well.
was fine.
Anyway, what were you saying?
They bury Bill one day. He's like, hey, get dressed. I'm going to take you somewhere to get your mind off it. They go to the beach. This is on the left page. They're at the beach in the sand. Then on the right page, by the end, they have gone home and consummated their relationship.
Well,
It
grief
was
does play.
so fast.
It was.
If that was going to be the case, what I needed to have happened was Bill needed to have died before the book started, and maybe they hired Josh to help Ardith go through his stuff.
Yeah.
Because the way they talk about Bill, he had no money. He wasn't one of the Hollywood elite, but the man had made 100 films.
Yeah. So one of the things that
Yeah.
she does a lot, Ardith does a lot, is kind of like damn him with faint praise.
Yeah.
So like, there's one line on page 201, I think. He had never been one of Hollywood's biggest stars or greatest talents, but he had had a long, solid career and the respect of his peers.
So he was a nice guy, well liked, had a very successful career, but just because he wasn't
Like,
Meryl Streep, which is
Yeah.
basically what Ardith Law is like this
Yeah.
generation's
Yeah.
Meryl Streep, he was suddenly not worthy of being treated nicely. Like
Yeah.
that's bull.
And what did he do with all of his money if he made 100 films and all of old Hollywood came to his
Yeah.
funeral and he had zero money? I mean, maybe he did.
Because-
Maybe he was
because
bad with it. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. But they never said that was just one of those plot points. They just made sure you knew that he had no money and she had to pay for that funeral.
and they weren't really or she wasn't really in love with him. He was just a companion to her.
Which is awful because he clearly loved her. They were together for 12 years. She made sure to take, like, he was getting his medicine. Anyway, so that's the issue I had with Ardith and Josh. Is
Yeah.
just how quickly it happened and then how cruel Josh could be about Morgan.
Yeah.
But I kind of understand that a little bit in the you're
'Cause
gonna
Morgan-
take your person's side
Right.
over a family.
And
like,
Morgan didn't have her best showing when she showed up for the
nope,
funeral.
She
She
was,
was
barely
Awful.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Barely there.
Oh,
Yeah.
and Morgan did this thing where she was like thinking about how it was good that Bill died because now her mom didn't have to take care of him.
I know.
Yeah.
And then she gets together with a 63-year-old.
You know what?
He was an important man. He's powerful. He's famous.
His career is so much more important than hers because he's internationally renowned. She's just a lowly surgeon.
Yeah, plastic surgeon.
What was I did like that one line for Josh. He's a plastic surgeon. It's not like he's a heart surgeon waiting for someone. You know, like, he made some comment that was basically like, I think they can put off the nose job today. So that was funny.
She does facelifts, not open heart surgery.
That was it. Yes, yes. That was a good line. I will say that was funny.
Also, ugh.
Yeah, I know.
But yeah, that was funny.
It's just because. So for me, I didn't mind Josh's whatever towards
Yeah.
Morgan because I really hated Morgan. So I was like, yeah, good for you. Go for it.
The book was okay for me when it was focusing in the beginning about Ardith and Josh.
Yeah.
But as soon as we really started to get into Morgan and Ben,
Ugh.
Yeah, that's true.
What a
Ben.
lifetime movie
What is
waiting to
it with
happen.
horrible characters named Ben.
I know.
audience, please send a redemptive book
Yeah.
for Ben because right now, any character I ever meet,
I know
named
lots
Ben
of
is
Bens
just
that are nice.
Horrible.
So I don't understand.
I don't
Why
know.
is that the evil name?
Ugh.
But the problem is that in both books, they're painted as if Ben was wonderful.
Yes.
And then he
Or
gets
just
shot.
misunderstood.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is, throughout the book, people are warning Morgan about this man.
Over
and over again.
His daughter, his bestie from college. They're all like, he's not really the best in like relationships. Take care of yourself. And she's
kinda
like,
gross.
I'm going in with my eyes wide open. Really?
She's like instantly in love with him after 2 weeks. Or like after one night, basically.
It also kills me that they talk about the age differences in both of the relationships. They're in their 40s.
Yeah, yeah.
We are not talking spring chickens here.
Right.
Yeah, Morgan's not a 22-year-old.
Right, exactly. What?
Well, that vicious trollop
I know, right?
just
Just
came
so
in and
evil.
was trying to just
What?
the
The
Tracy intern character.
Oh, yes, yes.
They
Okay.
they had no character said anything possibly like
Yeah.
nice.
She
Like,
was just immediately evil.
immediately evil. Like, well, clearly she's just trying to
And
like
that
take
whole
advantage.
plot,
It was gross.
that and the gunshot, and I'm like, what was the purpose? Oh, because then it proved, Ardith made some comment, well, now you've been through, the hard times together or something, so you can make it. And I'm like,
Ew.
that whole thing was gross. I'm sorry.
The two most ridiculous plot points were in there so that it would convince the women to be with the men.
Yeah.
Yes.
Both of them, because Ardith didn't want to get married, and then
Mhm.
she thought that Josh got blown up in a. Like, I love that part where one of the actors was like, I think I saw a body falling.
I think she was considering having him being like found in the woods or something. She's like, he probably would have died, and then he just wasn't on that plane.
I figured he had was stumbling off and was like, I made it.
Honestly, that would have been more interesting than just like randomly showing
showed
up.
up.
you know?
No, I was on a different plane.
That you can't have communication with, which is weird for a plane.
Anyway, so Josh
Just got
got
the
not
tension.
blown up, and then the
The tension.
and then what's his face
Got
Ben
shot.
got, and you know what? I was so ha, he's gonna die, and then, and then Morgan gets to start over with this new lease on life. She gets to be comforted by her mom. Maybe there's a relationship.
The doctor
there.
that she was friends with.
Yeah,
Yeah,
she called
Perry.
randomly.
Perry would have been. That would have been a cool plot line because I liked Perry.
know.
Yeah,
I liked
but
Perry.
it
Wasn't
was-
he married with
No,
twins?
he didn't- no,
or was
that
that,
was
an
another-
old boyfriend?
I think it was an old boyfriend.
I liked Perry. Okay.
But she called him so randomly after she saw him. I was like, what are you doing? Why did you call him? Just to talk to him?
And then Ben, because then when he was at hospital, basically accused her of
Liking him.
Yeah.
She was that Perry had a crush on her.
you had an affair with a 22-year-old 3 days before you met Morgan, and now you're worried because he's being nice to her.
'Cause
I'm
you
sorry.
just
that was,
couldn't resist her.
Oh God.
And men of that time just aren't as safe as men
And
now.
the way he talked about women.
If I heard one more Me Too, the way they describe lawsuits, Me Too lawsuit. It's not a Me Too lawsuit. It is a sexual assault lawsuit.
I got the
Or-
Me Too charges. They kept saying it over and over again. That's when I just was like, I sent you guys that text, and I was
Yeah.
like, this book,
I remember
this
that.
book.
By the way, all week, guys, we would start, be like, save it for Friday. Save it for Friday. We got to save it till we get there because we were just angry. We were
You
so
know what-
angry.
You know what other phrase she kind of latched onto for a little bit? Booty call.
I know.
Yes.
Well, maybe Morgan was just a booty call.
A booty call.
It's like one of you said it was like she learned a hip word. And so
Yeah.
she was like, look how hip I am.
That's because
That's
her
what the kids call it these days.
her references were so dated. Did you see in the beginning when what's his face was coming up on the motorcycle and she was like, "We thought you were Darth Vader or a Hell's Angel."
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
like, girl, those look nothing alike. We need some updated references here.
Oh my gosh. All right.
Oh. I never thought a book that literally featured Oscars red carpet would make me so angry. I'm like, please don't ruin the Oscar. When they were like, we're going to the Oscars, I'm like, you don't you dare.
Okay, we need to move
Oh,
on to
sorry.
the next question.
Sorry.
Okay.
Sorry, Angelique.
Okay, we can go back to that for least favorite. But We'll
Okay.
get to that. What did you think of the major conflict of the book? The allegations against Ben. Other than that, he was just an awful person in general. This is just very poorly written, honestly.
I think he handled it super terribly.
Yeah,
and
he
I
was a
think
coward and weak and gross, and I hate him so much.
he just didn't call Morgan back because he knew he was guilty. He knew
Yeah.
he had relations with that woman.
That 22-year-old woman.
At no point did
But
Ben
she had a
look...
blue dress on.
At no point did Ben look like a good guy.
No.
At no point. He was just...
He just really didn't. He didn't handle it well. He could have been upfront and been like, "Hey, you know what? This happened." He could have been like, I don't know. They were so horrible about the baby or the idea of the baby. They were like, "We weren't going to take care of it, but I'll pay for it if it's mine." It was just really disgusting all the way around.
Because, I mean, okay, you have this horrible encounter. You're two consenting adults. You don't handle it well. That's fine. You meet someone else because you have no future with that person. That's a little more acceptable. It's like, because, okay, I made a mistake, but it had nothing to do with us or whatever. But yeah, you're right. The way, yeah, they were that poor. I mean, the girl clearly, I mean, she had mental health issues or whatever. And
Yeah,
that's,
towards
and
the end, it
yeah,
was a little
and
rough.
but it's just like, it was, and the whole, like, the lawyer and the countersuit, and it's going, how many times they say, it's going to cost him a lot of money, but
It's
he
gonna
can't
be-
afford it.
It's going to be better if the kid is his because then he doesn't have to handle the Me Too charges.
Yeah.
It's just so not okay.
It's not.
It's so terrible.
Well, and then the lady randomly from the sperm bank was like, "I'm going to save Ben
threatened
because
to beat her up
To
over
a-
the phone.
that's
Pulp.
right."
To a pulp.
And then he sort of he pretended like because he was nice to her or something. Then that was an apology, and that was his way of apologizing. I'm like, no, apologizing would be, I'm sorry for threatening to beat you up, or not doing it in the first place. But
there was just
literally, that's what they said. It was like, oh, I said something to her, and that was my acknowledgement of it. I was like, no, you didn't acknowledge it. You didn't acknowledge it. You didn't apologize for it. You just were horrible. The person who was trying to help you. And why would she help? Because he was powerful and he was internationally known. So she's just randomly going to potentially throw away her career by violating HIPAA.
how
Yeah.
many times in this book did they violate HIPAA? Because Perry violated HIPAA.
Yep.
What's her face violated? What's her name? Bethany, Betsy,
Betsy.
Betsy Lane violated HIPAA. Everyone's just violating HIPAA.
Oh, and she was overweight. They threw that in that Betsy was overweight. I'm like, what
Just
is
so
that?
Ben wasn't attracted to her. He didn't want to have to get in trouble again.
Oh, good looking out, Danielle. Good looking out.
That could have been another plot twist.
You know, I was really hoping when Morgan started questioning whether or not the intern relationship happened before or after Morgan, I was like, good, get out.
Yeah.
Get out.
Don't just wait around.
I just.
Also, why did it take that long for this? Nowadays, they have like, it was the whole like, well, we're gonna have to wait another week, and then it was gonna wait another week, and then when she did it the second time, it was like 2 weeks, so they were gonna have to wait.
Well, that does make sense because you
No.
have to, biologically, the baby has to be big enough to be putting out enough.
Know what I mean?
into
But
the
then when we
system.
got to that 2 week mark, they made a comment about when those tests would come back, and it was a different amount
Because
of time.
she didn't get pregnant with Ben.
Oh, okay.
And so she had to go to a sperm bank to
Yeah,
get
and-
pregnant, which is why she kept insisting on if there was not, if the paternity test ended up, saying that it wasn't Ben, which she knew it would, that
Yeah.
she would get still $500,000 or whatever.
No,
it
no.
was.
What I'm saying is, so when they first started, they're like, when she takes the test,
Mhm.
it's going to take a week to get the results.
Mhm.
So then they had to wait for all that stuff and whatever. Then when she does finally take the test,
Mhm.
then the amount of it was like, then it was going to take 2 weeks for the results the
Oh,
second
yeah.
time. It was like that. I know that was silly, but I'm like, okay, so and then nothing happened in those 2 weeks. But then when it finally ended, they slept well. Finally,
Do you know what killed me? Because you had a good point. She finds out about the affair with the intern. She says you should probably go get an STD test, an HIV test, which is a healthy thing to do.
Mhm.
And then she's like has relations with him the same night.
knowing that
It's
there's a potential,
So gross.
especially as a
Very gross.
doctor.
That's so gross.
Yeah.
She should have gotten her own tests. Did she? I don't remember.
I really hope
She
she
trusted
did.
him. He's powerful and internationally renowned. They said that, and every time they described him, he was powerful.
Well, I hear he's internationally renowned.
But he has a problem with people, women in his past, but he's reformed.
He is reformed.
Yeah.
And we have all the evidence by the fact that, he's been reformed since Morgan.
So 3 days after his last bad encounter, he's reformed.
Ugh,
All
Ben's
right, what's the
worst.
next question?
All right, what are your favorite and least favorite moments in the book?
I don't.
I started hating the book, so I was really kind of excited when the guy got shot. I don't think I was been rooting for characters to break up so much, and I was so disappointed when they were endgame.
Yeah.
Yeah, there wasn't really anything that I guess you're right. The daughter, what was her name?
Amanda.
Amanda. That was probably my favorite part.
I think she was fine.
The least favorite part. No, my favorite part was page 250 or 242.
Is that the last page?
No, 241 was the last page.
242 is blank.
Right. That was my
Therefore-
favorite page. You cannot ruin a blank page with bad words. So, my least favorite part, honestly, was how horribly written it was.
Yeah.
I told someone there that was like, I could handle a trashy novel. The actual style of writing and the description and the way that she formed her sentences and the way that it was just poorly written. It felt like I was reading like a teenager trying to write something
It's
that doesn't.
very, like the way she would talk, she would write sometimes. It was very children's book like.
Mm-hmm.
Am I?
Okay, so. Okay, I need you to explain the children's book thing before
Like
I
the
go
way-
into mine.
I mostly noticed it like towards the end where she was talking about, I think it was at the Academy Awards or something. I don't remember.
Did you notice she dressed up like an Oscar? She was in an all gold dress.
Yeah.
But she took it back. She rented it because
She's sensible.
sensible about her money. Why that detail? What is it?
Okay,
about
okay,
her?
here's a good line. Ben was excited to meet Ardith and impressed by her and Josh and how well they got along.
Oh yeah.
Does that
Yeah,
not read
yeah.
like...
Yeah. It was just the actual writing itself was so atrocious.
Yeah.
If the storyline had even been like, if it hadn't been as problematic, it still would have been a problem because it
Yeah.
was so poorly written.
I forgot what I was saying. Oh, inside a paragraph. Okay, so it's written as if it's, it's in third person, but it also is written as third person omniscient because it goes in and out of the opinions of the characters, but it does it so seamlessly in the same paragraph. I don't know whose opinion is whose, because in 1 minute, Ardith will be talking about she'll be thinking about the fact that her first husband died in the helicopter crash, but then then it switches to how Morgan felt about the helicopter crash in the very same article, or not article, paragraph. Drove me bananas.
Well, especially if you don't designate it very clearly that's what it is. Like just add an extra sentence. I tell you guys, I think she wrote like a 100-page novel and they were like, we need you to stretch that out. And that's where a lot of that repetition came in.
I don't know. There is one part, or you want to go first?
I have a couple places marked, and I don't even necessarily know why I marked them, but we'll find out. Okay.
Story time.
All right, the first one. Okay, so this is between, I think it's Ardith and Ben.
Hard to tell.
Huh?
It's hard to tell every time. She goes between them so often.
I know, it really is. I'm so sorry, he says to her again, sounding contrite. Oh, it's because the very first time when he ghosted her.
Mm-hmm.
I shouldn't have stayed silent, but I didn't have a free minute to see you. I missed you all week. I was longing to see you. He sounded so believable, so sorry and sincere, and so vulnerable. She wanted to believe him. And I hate that I'm leaving you tomorrow. I know this is awful, but I got out of my last briefing before the trip. I need to pack and get some papers together, but is there any chance you can come over tonight and spend a few hours with me before I leave tomorrow? I hate doing this to you, but I need you. You're the air I breathe. They have seen each other one time. One time. But he was so different and exciting, world famous and important. And he loved her. He wasn't some run-of-the-mill banker or lawyer or doctor who went to an office every day and came home at night and never did anything extraordinary or outstanding. He was a star of major proportions. And she told herself that one had to make allowances for men like him.
Oh my god.
Like allowing him to sleep with 22-year-old women. That was not what she wrote. He was head and shoulders above any man she'd ever known, and the fame was not entirely unfamiliar to her because of her mother. She knew that one had to make exceptions for stars. Her whole thing is that she
doesn't want to make an exception for her mom.
Although she had made a few for her mother and had held her to a normal standards, she didn't want to do that with Ben. She was willing to be generous and forgiving in ways she had never been with her mother, but she was in love with Ben, which made all the difference in her mind.
I hate Morgan.
Oh.
I hate it so much.
What's wrong with lawyers
so
and
much
bankers and
therapy.
doctors? Like,
She's
she's a doctor.
Those are all incredibly respectable,
Professions,
careers.
yeah.
There was another one. Sorry that I didn't mean to read so much. Sorry, Angelique. Hang on.
Okay, you're fine.
Oh, when she's talking to Amanda, Amanda says, "I doubt that. Be careful." Amanda warned her, "You can't teach an old dog new tricks. You don't mind that he's so old?" Amanda asked her. Morgan shook her head. "I like it. Maybe he's the father I've never had."
I hate
Ew,
that line. So
ew.
gross.
I missed that.
That's
Ew.
one of the ones
Admitted
that
it to the daughter. I clearly have daddy issues, so I'm dating yours.
That's
Ew.
one of the ones that I took pictures of. And it's so gross.
It's so icky. Okay, I'm
And then
done.
she goes entirely unexamined. Doesn't even consider it again after that. What a weirdo.
Yeah.
All right.
Sorry,
so
Angelique. Those were my parts.
here's a line. Here's like a little passage where Ardith is talking to Josh, but it's hard to tell who is talking, and I think it's an example of her kind of writing and not knowing where she is at any point. Okay. Everything he went through must have been brutal for them, Josh smiled, looking at the woman he loved. He was happy for her that Morgan had accepted them and hadn't been hard on her mother. We agreed that life is crazy. She should be with you and I should be with him. But this is who we fell in love with and it works for us, no matter what anyone thinks. And I'm not trading places, just so you're clear on that. I admire your daughter and her work, but she's a handful. You've seen her at her worst around me, Ardith said quietly. Who is talking? I
don't know.
When they
have
say
to use
we
context clues
I
to
know.
figure it
Yeah.
out.
And even it's not like even like she should be with you and I should be with him. If that's Ardith talking, that doesn't make sense to me for some reason.
So I think she's saying because of their age. I had to reread that line like 2 or 3 times as well to get it, but I think Ardith is trying to say because of our age, I should be with Ben.
Okay.
And then you should be my daughter should be with you, Josh.
Mm.
Because the ages work. I'm sorry. I didn't realize we were like just able to switch relationships like that.
That's a weird
They don't
family.
like calling each other. She didn't go to her mom's wedding. You think she's going to share her like
She texted her about it though.
Oh, that's so lovely.
My thing is that have they just moved on from the age thing? Like people might have, they not necessarily would have forgotten it, but it wouldn't have been. They kept bringing it up over and over and over. Like that whole thing where he was trying to get her to marry him, and it just kept going. And she just kept making. It was like I literally was like, let me just flip ahead, and I just flipped ahead to see where it was going.
I didn't mind the age difference, and I think that there's a place to be able to have a 40-year-old and 60-year-old romance
yeah.
and it not be a big deal. But she kept making it a big deal.
That's what I'm saying.
Like
yeah, it
they,
was just
like-
odd.
like it was a May-December romance. But the weird thing is,
She
they're
was
old.
like, I feel like she was trying to make the romance between Morgan and Ben a little unequal by saying Ben was so well known and renowned and popular and all that, and he led this dangerous life, going from country to country, doing interviews with people or something.
But one would think it would make more sense for Morgan to say, I grew up, I'm used to being on my own. I don't do well in relationships because I have a hard time. I've never seen that before. No one's shown up for me. I do really well being independent. I like that you're independent and have your own thing going and you're not intimidated by the fact that I'm constantly working, don't want kids, but I do want a relationship. Like, I thought that was the angle they were going to go with, and instead it was, you're so important, Ben. You're just so dreamy.
you're just like my mom, who I hate, but I love you.
But I'm going to love you for all the reasons I hate her.
exactly.
Also, you're the father I never had.
Like,
So he's an amalgamation of both of her parents.
yeah, basically.
Yeah, like that's. Also, why is it that it's such a big deal for Ben to be such a superstar, but it's not a big deal that Ardith is a superstar?
Clearly, Ardith is a huge deal.
Right.
It's a multi-Oscar winner. Like,
Been around forever. Yeah,
only makes serious films. Did you catch that? She only makes serious films of worth. Like, she'll not just take any movie.
Maybe that's why she can't afford that gold dress. Sorry, that was. Yeah, it was.
That whole scene with the Academy Awards was like very name droppy. But the names that she was dropping was artists. Does that make sense?
yes, it does make sense.
So this part kills me. They're at the award ceremony. They're being asked to kiss by photographers. They're revealing their relationship. It was not a big deal. But she hasn't told her daughter yet. She calls her the next day and was like, oh, yes, Josh did go with me. Oh, yeah, actually, we are together. What did you know? You're kissing at the Oscars.
It's everywhere. It's on every.
I would be so upset, but Morgan by that time had decided that she was above the anger.
Because she had a nice little chat
By
with
the way,
Amanda.
yeah, one chat.
I know.
One chat, and you're like, all those years of resentment, I'm suddenly okay.
Okay, so that one chat, though, is the reason why she changed her mind. I'm glad it was Amanda and not Ben.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was my favorite part of the book. Thank you for helping me remember that. That was my favorite part of the book, was that Amanda was the one who helped her.
Yeah.
And
Oh, sorry. Ben.
Now I'm
I missed my cue, y'all. I missed my cue.
comparing the two Bens in my
I
head
know,
now.
I
Like,
know.
which one's
It's-
worse? I don't
So,
I still think the other one's worse.
for our listeners who maybe haven't read the book yet and who just wanted to know what a Danielle Steele book was like, there's
So did we.
I'm going to give them an example of some of the repetitiveness. Okay, I think it's this paragraph. It's like a long, long paragraph. Anyways. Starts with Josh. Thank you. I look forward to reading it, Josh said, distracted by what the producer had said. The money they were going to pay him for 2 weeks as her assistant would carry him for a while, and he could cover his rent with his savings. He didn't need much more than that at the moment, and if he had to, he could borrow money from a friend he had before and had always paid them back. He sat staring into space after he hung up, figuring it out. There was no way he was going to leave her now, and she didn't need to know the arrangement was over. She was a good woman, and he cared about her, and she'd had a hard blow with Bill's death, and no one to support her through it. Working for her for the next 6 weeks to finish out his time with her was a gift he could give her. He was willing to work for the next 6 weeks with no pay, and she never had to know about it. It was something he could do for her. He had enough in his bank account now for 2 or 3 rent checks, which was all he needed. He didn't want to leave her to work as a waiter during the next 6 weeks. He was supposed to work for her. She didn't need to lose him, too, as her only helper in person to lean on. She could hire an assistant later if she needed one, as the producer had said, but for now, he was going to do everything he could to help her to get on her road to recovery after Bill's death.
In my mind, I have like, will the circle, because it just circled all the way back to the thing multiple times.
Goodness.
How did this pass editing?
Thank you.
The only thing I can come up with, and I said it the other day to you, Andrew, because the audience can't see I was pointing to Andrew, is that I think she knows she's writing for her audience is probably aging with her, and there's going to be dementia issues.
So she repeats it too.
So she's constantly repeating that Josh is younger and a good guy and keeps coming even though he's not getting paid, but he's got a little bit of a bad boy edge with his Harley boots because, you know, Ardith is going to be on the back of the motorcycle now, but we can't let the paparazzi notice.
And his rent is covered for 2 or 3 months.
He is just such a good guy to just give up his rent. You know, he had some savings in his checking. And I'm just like, how did the editors continue to allow this?
Well, I wonder, you know, we talked about with James Patterson how if you go back and you read some of his original stuff when he first hit big, they actually were pretty good novels, and they like you could tell why he started off being as successful. And then as he's gotten along, he has the ghostwriters and the outlines and that kind of stuff. I wonder if you were to go back and read some of those original Danielle Steels, if we would see a difference than what we're seeing now. And because she's just become like he is, where she's just 6 books at a time, you said?
5, because
5, okay.
She outlines one book, she is writing another book, she is editing another book, and she's researching. That was the 5th one.
Okay.
But researching was really at the beginning of the process. So she's doing 5 books at one time.
And so
they say.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I took one of her books off the shelf, like one of her earlier ones from like the early 90s or the 80s or something. I think I did 86 because the year I was born. Anyways, I read it, and it's still like melodramatic like this is, but the writing was
a lot better.
Was better. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, she liked the ellipses, but whatever.
But like, so that does make me think that it's just like, because now it's just become a machine,
Yeah.
and no matter what she turns out, this thing had a 4.01 on Goodreads.
And the real issue,
4.0.
well, not after our 3 ratings.
so the real issue is, I think, is that she's putting a book out every month.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And she has to keep writing to do that. I don't know if it's her decision or if it's her publisher's decision.
Probably publishers.
Oh, it could be publishers because she's making buku money.
Mhm.
Like,
Yeah. They
she's
need
worth
to
so
give
much.
her the time to work on these books more. I think
I
she's just
agree.
having to. It's like a factory.
They
having to put
started
one out
doing
after
that
the
with
other.
some of those. And some of the writers resisted. Like John Grisham still does 1 book a year. Like he
Yeah.
will not do more.
And that's
But
still
David-
really fast for a John
Yeah.
Grisham
It is,
novel.
yeah. But like David Baldacci started doing that, and you started hearing patrons be like, "Well, it wasn't as good as James Patterson, Danielle Steele." You're starting to hear that same thing. The problem is that they're so addicted, and they've read all the other books. So they're like, "Well, give me the next one," even though I hated the last one.
Yeah,
Or
I had a patron come in and says, "I read every Danielle Steele book that comes out." I'm like, okay.
I think if you're already a Danielle Steele patron, you're going to like this book fine. There's no egregious sexual content. Like, the language really isn't that bad. There was one F-bomb, but it was by a socialist, so that's why.
yeah. God.
Like, the content isn't terrible. Like, there are some plot points. It moves very quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is a 250-page book, 240-page book. It
Yeah.
went by. It clipped by.
241.
240.
Because I was marking it down. It's like 241.
So,
Okay.
like, there's
Yeah.
some good things, but not for me.
Yeah, did
Yeah.
not like it.
I hated this book so much.
Mhm.
Okay. Okay. Second to last question. Who is the worst Ben? The Ben from November 9 or the Ben from Upside Down?
I love it. I love it. I still think November 9 because of the whole like he burned her and then he wrote a novel, like a play about her, movie about her, and
Yeah.
this Ben was creepy and not great. That Ben was like psychologically abusive and manipulative. So
I feel like Ben Ryan was probably a victim of his generation, and this was before, stars were held accountable, and clearly they have an issue with stars being held accountable before, because, sexual exploits are no longer tolerated in the industry. So, oh my
Me
gosh.
too. Hashtag.
Like horrible. Anyway, so but I do think once he actually met Morgan, he didn't do anything like that egregious other than, avoiding her,
Yeah.
which whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, if she can forgive him for that, whatever. It's not my relationship. Whereas I guess other Ben, you're right. But I was so excited when Ben Ryan got shot in the chest. I was like, we're out of it. We can move on and become a phoenix.
All of a sudden, it's a
Rise from the
5-star book
ash.
because you had the
Ashes. I said, rash. I still have a little bit of a COVID brain here.
All right, last question. Who would you cast in the movie or TV series?
Oh, I actually have good stuff for this.
Oh,
so
good.
you
I
go
have
first.
none because
got nothing?
yeah.
Okay. Do you want to go first? Or do you want me to go first?
I don't. You can go first.
Okay. Let me see. So for Ardith, I said Sharon Stone
Mm-hmm.
or Sigourney Weaver.
Oh, those are both excellent.
Sharon Stone, I feel like would be just because I hate to say this, but Basic Instinct.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like she plays that role
Yeah.
well.
For Morgan, I'd said Margot Robbie or Katherine Heigl.
Mm-hmm.
I thought of Blake Lively because I don't like because of how horrible everyone thinks she is. That might fit the
Yeah.
horribleness of the character.
Okay, Bill West. I said Harrison Ford.
Oh, he's perfect.
Ooh.
I agree. Let's keep that. I didn't even think about Bill, so that's a good one.
And this is probably because I just saw the movie, but for Josh Gray, I said Glenn Powell.
That would be good.
And then for Ben Ryan, I said Peter Gallagher.
Actually,
Oh,
yes.
That's excellent.
And he plays bad well.
He does.
I mean, he's apparently a really nice guy, but he plays like he does well with this kind of characters.
Okay. So, at first I was like, oh, this is okay. I will say in the reading, it kept being Jane Fonda for me.
Okay,
Ardith,
yeah.
but even though she's a little old for Ardith, and I was like, well, maybe Diane Lane
Mhm,
or Meryl Streep, obviously, because they're clearly trying to say she's Meryl Streep.
Right.
But then I was like, but the relationship is with Bill is kind of like Goldie Hawn and Kurt Russell, and then I realized Ardith should be Goldie Hawn and Kate Hudson
Then-
can be her daughter.
That actually would be good.
And yeah, I think so. John Schneider is who I cast as Ben Ryan,
Mm-hmm.
and Charlie Hunnam.
Hunnam.
There we go. Motorcycle guy. That's
Sons of Anarchy.
because he can clean up really nice, but he can also give that kind, obviously,
Mhm,
motorcycle
mhm.
bad boy thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, yep, that's it.
Gotcha.
I like those.
Thank you.
Yeah, those are good. I finished it like an hour ago.
I
So,
know.
I didn't really think about it. To be fair, I don't want it to ever be a movie because there's not enough good writing to transform
No.
it into any sort of script that would be.
Something else interesting has to happen
Salvageable.
with Ardith and Josh because all they did was Bill died and they cleaned up his stuff and then they started dating. There was no conflict.
That's true.
And then the plane exploded and then they got
And I
married.
laughed and laughed and laughed.
Like there was no conflict. Whereas
That it was the equivalent of the jetpacks.
I
Yeah.
know.
Yes.
Okay. Anything else we want to say about the book?
I'm glad we finished it.
I'm so glad it's over.
Oh yeah, does Kendall have one of her?
Maybe how far are we on time?
We're at 54 minutes.
Okay, let's see what I can do. I was quite irritated by the fact that people in LA wouldn't take Josh seriously with his Metallica t-shirt. And I was like, excuse me, Metallica's in their 60s. Like, Metallica hasn't shown up in LA before. He cleaned up and suddenly people are, like, paying attention to him. I thought that was a little bit ridiculous. It would be like being sneered at for wearing a Hawaiian shirt and a Jimmy Buffett hat. Like, you just wouldn't. It's Metallica. All right.
Oh, you know one thing that bugged me? When Ardith said she didn't want like a male assistant because with a male assistant they couldn't be in the room with her when she was naked.
Yeah, like a woman wants to be in the room with you
Yeah.
when you're naked too. Ugh.
That's weird.
Yeah.
I'm having a hard time reading this at a decent pace because I keep rolling my eyes.
That's good.
I can't believe it was 40 pages before we get Morgan and her perspective. Morgan's physical description is beige. I hope her personality isn't applicable. I didn't like Josh. I thought he was really judgmental of Morgan. I said the facelift thing. I put that on here.
Yeah.
I hate Ben. Her married name becomes Ardith Gray. Doesn't that sound a little bit like Meredith Grey?
It does sound, yeah.
Do you know what else happened? The love main interest gets shot in the chest in a plane crash.
They ripped off Shonda Rhimes.
All right. Anything else?
I'm good.
All right. So before we finish up here, I'm going to promote the Gaston County Public Library website for all your Gaston County Public Library needs. You can access your library card account, see what's coming up on our events calendar, access our digital services, and more. So go to gastonlibrary.org and check out what the library has in store for you. All right, that's it for We're Booked Up 4th season premiere. Upside Down is available in print and online at the NC Digital Library and through the Libby app. Let us know what you think of the book and what you think of what we think of the book. Just leave a comment at the Off the Shelf blog at gastonlibrary.blogspot.com or at gastonspeaks.podbean.com. Next month's book is Silent City, a mystery thriller by Alex Segura. Thanks for listening.
Bye, thank you.
Bye.
Bye.